The numbers moved quietly at first, then they exploded. In less than a week, Bruno Mars' upcoming fourth solo studio album The Romantic surged past 2.01 million pre-saves on Spotify's top countdown pages, instantly becoming the second most pre-saved album on the global chart. For an artist who hasn't released a solo studio album in nearly a decade, the message is unmistakable. Bruno Mars is not just returning, he's reclaiming the spotlight. The milestone marks one of the strongest digital pre-release performances of the streaming era. With 2.01 million pre-saves and counting, The Romantic is now positioned as one of the most anticipated pop albums in recent memory. Industry analysts say the number reflects more than nostalgia. It signals a calculated, culturally resonant comeback from an artist who has long understood timing, branding, and musical precision better than most of his peers. To understand why this moment matters, you have to go back to the beginning. Born Peter Gene Hernandez in Honolulu, Hawaii, Bruno Mars was raised in a family of performers. As a child, he impersonated Elvis Presley in local shows. By his late teens, he had moved to Los Angeles with little more than ambition and a relentless work ethic. His early years in the industry were not glamorous. Before becoming a household name, he was a behind-the-scenes songwriter, helping craft hits like Right Round and Wavin' Flag. Those early sessions sharpened his instincts for melody and structure. When Bruno Mars broke out as a solo artist in 2010 with Doo-Wops and Hooligans, the industry took notice. His blend of retro soul, pop polish, and emotional vulnerability felt both nostalgic and modern. Songs like Just the Way You Are and Grenade dominated radio. Then came Unorthodox Jukebox, proving he was no one-album wonder. By the time 24K Magic arrived in 2016, Bruno Mars had fully transformed into a global pop powerhouse, sweeping the Grammy Awards and redefining contemporary funk for a new generation. And then silence, at least in terms of solo albums. While he remained visible through collaborations and performances, including the critically acclaimed Silk Sonic project with Anderson, .Paak, fans waited for a proper solo follow-up. In the streaming era, long gaps can be risky. Audiences move fast, trends shift overnight. But if the pre-save numbers for The Romantic prove anything, it's that Bruno Mars understands longevity better than most. Music critic Alan Light recently noted in an interview, Bruno Mars operates like a classic-era superstar. He doesn't flood the market, he curates moments, and when he arrives it feels like an event. That strategy appears to be paying off. The 2.01 million Spotify pre-saves represent not only loyal fans, but also a younger streaming generation discovering his catalog through TikTok trends and algorithm-driven playlists. Behind the scenes, sources close to the production describe The Romantic as deeply intentional. A longtime studio collaborator who asked not to be named due to contractual confidentiality described the recording process as meticulous to the point of obsession. According to the source, Bruno Mars personally reviewed arrangement details, vocal layering, and live instrumentation choices with an almost cinematic mindset. He's not chasing trends, the producer said. He's building worlds. That philosophy aligns with what insiders say is the emotional core of the album. The title alone, The Romantic, suggests a thematic return to vulnerability. But unlike the heartbreak-driven narratives of his early career, this project reportedly explores maturity, reflection, and commitment. Industry insiders suggest that several tracks lean into lush orchestration, live horns, and analog recording techniques, a sonic palette that echoes the timeless influences Bruno Mars has long admired. The impact on the American music industry is already measurable. Streaming strategists point out that high pre-save numbers often translate into record-breaking first-week streams. Labels are closely watching the rollout. Marketing experts say the campaign has been unusually disciplined, limited interviews, carefully staged teasers, and strategic social media drops rather than constant promotion. In a content-saturated environment, restraint can feel refreshing. Culturally, Bruno Mars occupies a unique position. He bridges generations. Millennials grew up with his early hits. Gen Z rediscovered him through dance challenges and nostalgic playlists. His halftime Super Bowl performance remains one of the most replayed in NFL history. His aesthetic, sharp tailoring, live bands, synchronized choreography stands in contrast to the lo-fi minimalism that has dominated parts of modern pop. In that sense, his return feels almost rebellious. There's also a business dimension that cannot be ignored. In an era where artists often release deluxe editions, surprise drops, and multiple versions to boost numbers, Bruno Mars has largely avoided oversaturation. That scarcity has amplified anticipation. He understands brand equity, said a senior music executive at a major label who has worked on competing projects. When Bruno Mars moves, the entire industry pays attention. But the story is not just about strategy, it's about resilience. Few remember that early in his career, Bruno Mars faced skepticism from industry gatekeepers who questioned whether his retro influences would connect with mainstream audiences. He proved them wrong repeatedly, yet sustaining that level of success brings pressure. Each album must outperform the last, each tour must feel bigger. Sources close to the singer say the gap between albums was not accidental. He reportedly scrapped multiple drafts of songs over the years. If it didn't feel timeless, it didn't make the cut, one collaborator shared. That perfectionism may explain the long wait and the explosive response now. The 2.01 million pre-saves also reveal something deeper about fan psychology. In the digital era, a pre-save is a commitment. It's a click that says, "I'm ready." For millions to make that decision before hearing the full project suggests trust. Bruno Mars has built a reputation for consistency. Listeners expect hooks, they expect polish, they expect replay value. Music historian Nelson George once observed that true pop icons create soundtracks to life moments, weddings, road trips, breakups, celebrations. Bruno Mars has done that for over a decade. If the romantic captures even a fraction of that emotional connection, it could redefine his legacy yet again. Industry forecasters are already predicting a dominant debut week. Streaming projections suggest that the romantic could open with one of the highest first-week numbers of the year. Radio programmers are reportedly preparing for heavy rotation. Ticket demand for rumored tour dates is expected to surge the moment they are officially announced. Yet for all the numbers and projections, the most compelling part of this story remains human. At 40, Bruno Mars is no longer the newcomer with something to prove. He is an established figure navigating the next chapter of his artistry. The themes of romance and emotional depth hinted at in early promotional materials suggest introspection, growth, evolution. In many ways, this comeback reflects a broader shift in American pop culture. Audiences are rediscovering live instrumentation. They are craving authenticity in a hyperdigital world. Bruno Mars has long championed musicianship, real drums, real horns, tight choreography earned through rehearsal, not algorithms. That commitment resonates. The streaming milestone is not just a statistic. It is a statement. It confirms that Bruno Mars remains one of the few artists capable of commanding global attention without constant output. His influence stretches beyond charts. Younger performers cite his stage presence as inspiration. Producers study his arrangements. Fashion brands emulate his aesthetic. As release day approaches, anticipation continues to build. Social media speculation is intensifying. Fan communities dissect every teaser frame by frame. Analysts debate whether this will be his most commercially successful era yet. But perhaps the bigger question is artistic. What does romance mean in 2026, and how will Bruno Mars define it? If history offers any guidance, he will do it on his own terms. For now, the numbers speak loudly: 2.01 million pre-saves, second most globally, a near-decade wait, and an artist stepping back into the arena with quiet confidence. The next chapter of Bruno Mars is about to unfold, and the industry is watching closely. Because when Bruno Mars returns, it isn't just an album release. It's a cultural moment. Bruno Mars is once again commanding global attention. With his upcoming fourth solo studio album, The Romantic, surpassing 2.01 million pre-saves on Spotify's top countdown pages, Bruno Mars has officially secured one of the biggest pre-release moments of the streaming era. The milestone places the project as the second most pre-saved album globally, a powerful signal that the pop superstar's long-awaited return is more than nostalgia. It's a cultural event. For American audiences, this moment carries weight. Bruno Mars has not released a solo studio album in nearly a decade, following the Grammy-dominating success of 24K Magic. In the years since, he has maintained visibility through high-profile collaborations and unforgettable live performances, but fans have been waiting for a definitive solo comeback. Now, that comeback is materializing at full scale. Industry analysts say the massive pre-save numbers reflect trust, the kind built through years of hit records, polished musicianship, and cross-generational appeal. From his Honolulu roots to global superstardom, Bruno Mars has consistently delivered chart-topping singles and era-defining performances that shape American pop culture. What does this next chapter mean for his legacy and for the music industry in 2026? Watch our full report for an in-depth look at the numbers, the strategy, and the story behind Bruno Mars' highly anticipated return.